The U.S. auto industry is on the edge of a full-blown collapse. EVs are piling up on dealer lots with no buyers in sight. Car prices are crashing. Chinese automakers are preparing to storm the American market. And legacy giants like Ford and GM, they're cutting workers and begging for bailouts. This isn't just a downturn. It's a once-in-a-century reckoning. Buckle up, because what you're about to see could change the way America moves forever. EVs are failing. The bubble just popped. Just a year ago, the electric vehicle revolution was supposed to be unstoppable. Ford was betting billions on EV factories. GM was promising to go fully electric by 2035. And Tesla? It was the crown jewel of American innovation. But now, everything is unraveling. Lots across the country are overflowing with unsold EVs. Dealerships are quietly slashing prices just to move inventory. Automakers that once bragged about being all in on electric are now pulling back fast. Ford just delayed its $12 billion EV expansion. GM canceled the highly anticipated Equinox EV rollout in several markets. And even Tesla, the poster child of electric success, is gutting prices to desperate levels, slashing thousands off Model YS and even offering perks like free charging and software upgrades just to lure buyers. So what happened? The EV dream hit a wall built from cold, hard consumer reality. Charging infrastructure is still broken and uneven, especially in rural areas. Battery costs haven't dropped fast enough. And with interest rates soaring, even a mid-range EV is unaffordable for millions. Then there's range anxiety, a phrase you've probably heard 100 times, and it's real. Many drivers just don't trust an EV to get them through winter snow, long summer road trips, or off-the-grid living. What's worse, many early adopters are quietly offloading their EVs and going back to gas or hybrids. In fact, hybrid sales are surging, up over 50%, while EV growth is stagnating. The message is clear. The bubble didn't just burst. It exploded. And now, the very companies that gambled their futures on electric are facing a brutal truth. Demand isn't just soft, it's drying up. And the consequences are just beginning. Dealerships in crisis. No one's buying, everyone's panicking. Behind the glossy showroom windows and flashy commercials lies a brewing catastrophe. U.S. car dealerships are buckling under pressure. The very places where American car culture was born, family-owned lots, multi-generational franchises, are now struggling to survive. And it's not just about EVs collecting dust. It's the entire system that's cracking. Dealers across the country are screaming the same thing. Inventory is up, but foot traffic is dead. Many are stuck with cars they can't sell, relying on high-interest loans called floor plans to keep them in stock. But when those vehicles sit too long, especially EVs with rapidly depreciating value, dealers lose money every single day. Some are slashing prices so deep they're selling a loss. Others are sending cars back to manufacturers, an act of surrender rarely seen outside of recessions. Even worse, automakers are forcing EV quotas on dealers who simply can't move the metal. Ford, for instance, required dealers to invest hundreds of thousands of dollars in EV charging infrastructure just to stay in the game. Many complied, only to now sit with silent chargers, dead lots, and furious accountants. Some smaller dealerships have walked away entirely from EV sales, saying they simply can't afford to push product customers don't want. And that tension is boiling into a full-blown revolt. Lawsuits are quietly being filed. Dealer associations are lobbying lawmakers for protection against automaker mandates. And whispers of mass closures are getting louder. These aren't isolated incidents. This is a system-wide crisis, a tipping point where the traditional dealership model might not survive. And as EV backlash grows and consumer demand shifts, the question becomes, who exactly is going to sell the future of American cars? If no one wants to buy it, UAW strikes and union revolt. Legacy auto turns on its workers. The cracks in the U.S. auto industry aren't just in sales or inventory. They're deep within the factory floors. After the historic 2023 UAW strikes brought Detroit to a standstill, the wounds between automakers and workers never truly healed. And now, as legacy giants transition toward electric vehicles, another war is brewing. One that threatens to tear apart the very workforce that built American auto from the ground up. When Ford, GM, and Stellantis struck new labor deals after weeks of tense negotiations, the headlines declared victory for workers. But behind closed doors, those agreements came with a ticking time bomb. The shift to EV production doesn't just change what's being built, it changes who builds it. Electric vehicles require far fewer parts, fewer assembly steps, and ultimately, fewer workers. Add to that the fact that many EV components, especially batteries and drivetrains, are now being outsourced to non-union joint ventures in the South or overseas, and it becomes clear the golden era of the union auto worker is slipping away. Now, plants once filled with union jobs are downsizing or shutting altogether. Ford's Michigan EV plant quietly laid off hundreds. GM is restructuring its EV roadmap, cutting teams and shelving projects. Workers who thought they'd earned long-term stability are being replaced by robots. Or worse, by workers in Mexico or non-union states earning half the wage. The betrayal stings, and the UAW isn't taking it lightly. New leadership is vowing to strike again, this time harder and longer. Their message is simple. If the EV future doesn't include us, we'll shut it down. But automakers, under pressure to cut costs and survive the EV slowdown, are refusing to back down. What we're witnessing isn't just a labor dispute. It's the beginning of a civil war inside the auto industry. A war between legacy and innovation, between people and profit, and neither side looks ready to surrender. Chinese invasion, BYD, NIO, and XPeng set sights on US. While America's auto industry is stuck in crisis mode, a storm is forming overseas, and it's headed straight for Detroit. Chinese automakers, once dismissed as low-end copycats, are now producing some of the world's most advanced and affordable electric vehicles. And the timing couldn't be more dangerous for the US market. Leading the charge is BYD, a company backed by Warren Buffett and now outpacing Tesla in global EV sales. Their cars are faster to market, cheaper to build, and shockingly well-engineered. Vehicles like the BYD Seagull, an electric hatchback with solid range and modern tech, retail in China for as little as $10,000. Meanwhile, American companies struggle to offer anything new under $40,000. But the real shock isn't just in their capabilities, it's in their ambition. NIO, XPeng, Geely, and other Chinese brands are quietly positioning themselves for a full-scale assault on the American market. BYD is already expanding operations in Mexico, likely to bypass U.S. tariffs via loopholes in the USMCA trade deal. Others are forming strategic partnerships with global logistics and dealership networks to ease their entry. Washington is watching with growing alarm. In fact, the Biden administration recently imposed new tariffs and is considering further sanctions to block Chinese EVs from flooding U.S. streets. But here's the problem. Protectionism might not be enough. American automakers are so behind on cost efficiency and EV profitability that if China gets even a small foothold, it could be a repeat of the Japanese auto invasion of the 1980s, only faster and more devastating. The writing is on the wall. Chinese EVs are coming. They're cheaper, faster, and in many ways better. And while U.S. automakers fight unions, dealers, and shrinking demand, the competition is quietly assembling its army. The battle for the future of the American car isn't just internal anymore. It's global. And the U.S. might not be ready for what's coming next. Tesla's empire is shaking. Price cuts, layoffs, and lawsuits. For over a decade, Tesla was untouchable, the symbol of American innovation, a tech company disguised as a car brand. Elon Musk was hailed as the modern-day Henry Ford. But in 2025, the foundation is cracking, and fast. Tesla's empire, once towering over the auto world, is starting to show signs of serious instability, and some say the fall has already begun. It started quietly with massive price cuts. In an attempt to maintain market share amid slowing EV demand, Tesla began slashing prices across its lineup. The Model Y, once a premium electric SUV, now sells for tens of thousands less than it did just 2 years ago. The result? Plummeting profit margins and an angry customer base who paid more for the same car just months earlier. But even with the cuts, inventory is piling up and demand isn't keeping pace. Then came the layoffs. Thousands of workers across Tesla's global operations suddenly let go. Entire departments were gutted. Supercharger teams dismantled. Service centers shuttered with no warning. Musk framed it as a flattening of the organization, but insiders say it's cost-cutting under financial duress. And let's not forget the Cybertruck, the long-awaited electric pickup that was supposed to revolutionize the segment. Instead, it's become a logistical nightmare. Delays, quality issues, production limits, and a price point far higher than promised have turned the Cybertruck into a punchline. Social media is flooded with owners highlighting delivery defects, while competitors like Rivian and Ford quietly regain ground. Legal trouble is also mounting. Tesla is under scrutiny from multiple regulatory agencies over autopilot crashes, labor violations, and false advertising. Meanwhile, union pressure is rising. With the Biden administration's pro-labor stance and the UAW targeting Tesla as its next conquest, Elon Musk faces a war on all fronts: legal, financial, political, and reputational. Tesla is still a giant, but now it's a giant under siege. And the question that once seemed unthinkable is starting to echo louder. Could Tesla actually fall? Subprime car loan crisis, the 2008 of the auto world? If the cracks in EV sales and dealership profits weren't alarming enough, there's a far more dangerous threat bubbling just beneath the surface: auto loan defaults. And it's growing at a pace that has Wall Street and Washington whispering one chilling phrase. This feels like 2008 all over again. Over the past few years, millions of Americans, lured by aggressive financing offers and inflated car values, took out massive loans on vehicles they could barely afford. With monthly payments soaring above $1,000 in many cases, the auto loan market ballooned to over $1.6 trillion. But now, the high interest rates and economic slowdown are catching up. People are missing payments, and not just a few. Subprime delinquencies are surging to levels we haven't seen since the Great Recession. Repossession companies are overwhelmed. Vehicles are being taken back at record rates, often within just 60 days of default. Even more troubling, many of these repossessed cars are now worth less than the loans still owed, thanks to the rapid decline in used car values. That's left both lenders and borrowers underwater, and neither can swim. Major banks and auto finance companies are tightening their credit rules, slamming the brakes on approvals, especially for working-class buyers. That's causing a demand shock. People want cars, but they can't get financed. And when financing dries up, sales crash. The industry is walking a razor's edge. If delinquencies continue rising and used car prices keep falling, it could spark a chain reaction, a credit crunch that freezes the entire auto ecosystem, from dealers to manufacturers to suppliers. In 2008, it was housing. In 2025, it might just be cars. And the warning signs are flashing red. Tech collapse, the AV and EV startup bloodbath. The hype was massive. Billions poured in. The promises? Revolutionary. Autonomous vehicles, next-gen electric startups, AI-driven fleets. Tech was supposed to reinvent transportation forever. But in 2025, the shiny facade has shattered. What we're seeing now is nothing short of a mass extinction event in the automotive tech world. Start with the EV startups. Rivian, once hailed as the Tesla killer, has been slashing jobs, delaying new models, and struggling to scale production. Despite a flashy IPO and high-profile Amazon partnership, the company is burning through cash with little profit in sight. Lucid Motors, known for its luxury electric sedans, has seen demand collapse. Its vehicles are too expensive for a shrinking EV market and too niche to compete with legacy brands cutting prices. Then there's Canoo, Fisker, Lordstown, and Faraday Future, names that once trended on tech blogs and investor sites. Today, most are trading at pennies or declaring bankruptcy. Their factories are quiet, their investors gone, their promises broken. And it's not just the electric side of things. The autonomous vehicle sector is unraveling fast. Waymo has scaled back dramatically. Cruise, GM's self-driving arm, faced massive public backlash after safety failures and a highly publicized accident forced the company to suspend operations in several cities. Apple quietly killed its long-rumored Apple Car project, and even Tesla's full self-driving software is facing government scrutiny and lawsuits. The reality is brutal. The tech just isn't ready. The market isn't stable, and investors are fleeing. Billions of dollars have been vaporized. Thousands of engineers laid off. Entire cities that built their economic future around these ventures, like Detroit, Austin, and Phoenix, are left wondering what comes next. What was once seen as a revolution now looks like a bubble that popped in slow motion. And for an industry desperate for innovation, the failure of automotive tech may have just slammed the brakes on the future itself. The future of driving is what? With the pillars of the U.S. auto industry crumbling, EV demand crashing, dealerships bleeding, union battles intensifying, startups dying, and Chinese competitors circling, the most haunting question left is the simplest. What happens next? Americans are stuck in limbo. Gas cars are becoming more expensive to own and maintain. EVs, once seen as the solution, are now viewed by many as a luxury, a gamble, or a burden. Autonomous vehicles? No longer on the immediate horizon. Car ownership itself is becoming unattainable for millions, thanks to rising interest rates, insurance hikes, and wage stagnation. Even leasing isn't safe, as manufacturers scale back deals in response to collapsing residual values. So where are we going? Some automakers are pivoting hard toward hybrids, calling them the bridge tech between gas and electric. Toyota's hybrid sales are exploding. Ford is quietly extending hybrid production while putting EV plans on ice. And suddenly, plug-in hybrids, the forgotten middle child, are back in vogue. But that's not innovation. That's retreat. Others are betting on new ownership models, car subscriptions, micromobility, shared fleets, and even urban no-car zones. But these ideas mostly serve tech-savvy urbanites, not the millions of rural or suburban Americans who rely on a personal vehicle just to survive. Then there's the wild card, China. If Chinese EVs flood the market with $10,000 electric sedans and undercut every American brand, the entire structure of U.S. car production could collapse, leaving the future of American auto manufacturing in foreign hands. In short, the road ahead is foggy. For the first time in over a century, the American auto industry is facing an identity crisis. Not just about what kind of cars we'll drive, but whether we'll own them at all. The era of dominance, freedom, and pride tied to U.S. car culture is hanging by a thread. And if we don't find a direction soon, the road to the future might lead us off a cliff. The U.S. auto industry isn't just in trouble, it's an uncharted territory. From failing EV rollouts to a looming loan crisis, from Chinese disruption to the collapse of tech startups, this isn't just a downer, it's a reckoning. For over 100 years, the car has symbolized American freedom, innovation, and strength. But today, that legacy is under siege from every direction. So now we ask you, what do you think the future of driving really looks like? Will America recover and adapt? Or are we witnessing the slow-motion collapse of a once great industry? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Share this with someone who needs to know the truth. And don't forget to subscribe, because this story is far from over, and the next chapter might be even darker. Until then, stay sharp, stay informed, and keep your eyes on the road.